Hey everybody, this week's episode of the R&R Show is brought to you by Key Enigma. And hello Ruel, how are you doing?
Hello, Richard. I'm fine. I'm recuperating and recovering from our week in Las Vegas at Dice Tower West. Had a great time, but it's good to be back in the home studio, getting ready for another fantastic episode of the R&R Show.
Yes, it's definitely good to be back. I have to admit, Jen and I almost didn't make it back. Um,
Yeah.
our flight got canceled. We were told we'd have to wait 2 days, literally
Oh my
2
gosh.
days for another flight, and we had to go through many trials and tribulations to find some way to get back home. And I won't go into all of that now, but folks, did you know there is an extended version of this show? You can check the links down in the show notes or hit the I up there because we stream about a 2-hour show live every Tuesday, and we do all kinds of wacky stuff. Tell personal stories, rank all kinds of games, do top threes. But today we are here to talk about the continuation of our shared R&R top 100 games of all time after we've had to put it off for a week. But before we get to that, I want to talk about something a little bit heavier about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. First of all, we had a link in last week's show to a fundraiser that had been put together by Matthew Jude of Tabletop Night Network, and it turns out there were some technical issues there, so that didn't work out. And anybody who did donate to that will get refunds. Me too. I also donated to it, so don't worry about that. But I still wanted to do something. And I want to do something more than just wear a shirt, which is kind of what I'm known for these days. And I was talking with Jen about it at the show, and she was talking with other people about it. And we came up with an idea that is very close to home. And so what we are doing, Ruel, my wife has made a new line of Witwat, which is kind of her signature little glass game pieces that she loves making and people absolutely love. They are in the Ukrainian flags, blue and yellow.
Nice.
They are adorbs, I believe is the appropriate term.
That
And
is it.
for the rest of the month of March, if anybody buys these, 100% of the proceeds will go directly to care.org, who are doing amazing work helping women and children and the elderly specifically. That's kind of their target, getting them food, resources, money where needed, to get to safety. So you can help out people who are in dire need, and you can get some really, really cool swag for your games too. They are apps, they're fun to play, and in fact, I'm not just going to show you a picture. Let me go ahead and show you these little three right here. And now,
Yeah.
every time you order one of these, they are these cute little aliens. They've got one eyeball, maybe they've got a couple of antennae, maybe they don't, maybe they're chunky. Every single one is bespoke, made with love by hand from Jen. And like I said, they are available on her Etsy site right now, which you can find at www.gamerglass.art. And again, 100% of the proceeds for the sale of those is going to be going to care.org to help people whose lives have been destroyed by the war that is ongoing. And if that wasn't enough to tempt you, we've got an extra little bonus. Ruel just mentioned that we just got back from the Dice Tower West convention, and we premiered at the convention. Anybody who bought any of Jen's glass got these very, very cool Everdell Rahdo promos, which are awesome. Let me turn off the green screen so you can see them a little bit more detail. These are very, very cool, very fun to play. I especially love the quote, "Live and let live." That's so Rahdo. And obviously this little lizard is done in the Rahdo Running Man style. And so if you're at the convention, you could get those. But, and Ruel got his.
Yep.
For the rest of the year of 2022, any purchase at Jen's Etsy store will get you one of these. But how do you get them, Ruel? It is very important. Let me bring back up the images. When you're checking out, there's a little box where you can type in notes to the seller. Put the word Everdell in there. That's the secret code. You put in Everdell when you order anything, including these awesome little Ukrainian meeples, and you will be able to get the Rahdo promo pack. So, just wanted to get that out of the way and,
Nice.
send my best wishes to everybody in the Ukraine, especially Roman, who is a board game geek, who got his family out, but then he has decided to stay and, help volunteer. I mean, that level of bravery is just beyond me, and it's being displayed every single day. And so whatever we can do to help, definitely. I mean, and if you have the means, it doesn't have to be through Jen's Etsy store. There are so many great organizations doing so much out there. So definitely, folks, if you can. I mean, I understand not everybody can. We're all in this together. And hey, you know what? While we're at it, totally coincidentally, let's not forget there are plenty of other hotspots around the world too, where people need our help. So
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, friends, if you have the means and are able to, we would appreciate it. But as Richard was saying, there are plenty of organizations that you can donate to or help out with, because it is we're not trying to make light of the situation. It is what it is, and we're here to provide a little bit of maybe temporary. Hey, let's talk about games, you know, and so not to downplay any of that, but. Speaking of games, Richard, you have a game in front of you.
I do have something on my table.
Is.
Although before we move on to our next topic, what's on Rahdo's table? Both Ruel and I are of a certain age, and last week, oh my gosh, we got pilloried, or not pilloried, but we got pointed out several times that we keep referring to it as the Ukraine. Because that's what it was called for our entire lives up until the 90s, and that's hard to break a habit that you grew up.
It is.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we did it just now as well. So
you're right. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, yes, apologies. Yeah. Don't want to add insult to injury. We know it is Ukraine.
Ukraine. Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, we grew up hearing the term in one sense, but we know things have evolved and changed. So yes, we want to shout out, send everyone, just our apologies for that. But we shall move on. We shall move forward now. Let's talk about what the heck is in front of you.
Let's talk about some games. Although this, I'll be honest, this is a tricky one to talk about. This is the Key Enigma series, and they've actually got a new box set of escape room in a box adventures that are on Kickstarter right now. But they actually sent me a few of their earlier ones, and these things are so big and so cool. But the problem is, if I open this box, well, I can open the box and stop. If this one is all about, it's set in our modern day world, there are hackers running amok, and it's our job by solving lots of puzzles to save the world from this. But, it comes, it tells you, do not open, do not look what's underneath. You open this up, you right off the bat get a little intro, a letter saying, why did you get this in the mail? Because the interesting thing about the Key Enigma series that is really attractive to me, because I'll be honest, we played a lot of escape rooms at home, and we kind of gotten burned out, but when I saw these, they were very attractive because of their use of technology. The first thing you do after checking out, these cool little cipher cards, which if you played escape rooms, these are going to be interesting, but they also send you to a web page. And when you log into that web page, the whole point of the Key Enigma series is this makes you feel more like these are real adventures that are happening in the real world right now that you've been wrapped up in. You are just somebody living in your home who has an internet connection, a smartphone, a computer, and you got this in the mail, and you read this mysterious message, and eventually you follow the website. And I don't want to go too deep into the website because I don't want to spoil stuff, but let me see, I did queue up. You very quickly come to what looks like, a completely functioning, a news page with this article about, basically it's an offshoot of the Panama Papers. If anybody remembers that from a few years ago. And it turns out the Panama paper scandal was not what we thought it was, folks. There was a lot more going on. And you start digging around here, and it looks like a regular website. You can actually go read about the advertisers for it. And and follow all kinds of stuff there, but there are clues hidden, and this is just the beginning. This game is still predominantly all about the cool physical puzzles here. Now, eventually what happens is you start getting more packages in the mail. This was the first package. When the game eventually tells you, as you figure out the puzzles, you said, hey, somebody just sent me this through DDL. And there's stuff in here, Ruel. Big stuff, heavy stuff. Or somebody sent me something through Key X. And so the whole point of this is to make it feel like you're not role-playing something. You're you in the real world trying to solve this. And you get all these mysterious things that are sent to you in the mail. Now, I don't want to open these. I don't want to spoil them. You can actually go to their webpage. They've got some really nice splash pages. It shows, there's the kind of, 3D glasses. There's, red lights, all kinds of neat, fun stuff. But their first one one they ever did. I've got 3. The Calling Card, which is a murder mystery. This one, which is a, hackers are taking over the world, what's really going on game. Their first one was a horror escape room game. It's a little bit less ambitious. And when you open it, you just get everything right away. So I don't feel so bad about, showing that, hey, you get maps. And you get mysterious cards, and you get dotty things, and you get all this cool fun stuff. This was their first one, and you get a sealed envelope. Do not open. This feels like it's actually real proper wax. The production quality, from what I've seen, from what I have opened, is phenomenal. But the thing is, you keep going back and forth between all of this stuff, the real stuff, and the digital stuff. You spend your time going through, they have spent so much time making so many really cool, deep, fully fleshed out web pages, but then you also go to like Google Maps and you look up where real things are in the real world. And you work with agents because the digital stuff, a lot of escape room games have to have some kind of system to help you if you get stuck. When you log in to their central system, you always have answers if you ever get stuck. And another thing, this might look and say, oh, well, this is an hour-long escape room, right? Like Unlock or, all those. No, there's 4 or 5 or 6 hours of stuff in here that you will play through multiple nights. And the website lets you save your progress. And if you come back a week later, it'll do basically a previously on and remind you of what you were doing and what you were working on. So they're really using the technology, but not just the websites they make. If you're really into the overlap between analog and digital like I am, I was so excited because, they will actually send you text messages. They will send you email messages. You will get phone calls from mysterious, disguised voices, and you'll have to take that information and then apply it back to all of this. All of it because you have found yourself wrapped up in a mystery that you have to solve. There are super expensive escape rooms out there where they actually have actors who will actually walk you through and stuff like that. I could never afford one of those in a million years. Regular escape rooms are kind of too expensive for me and Jen. But this, you can get that experience. Multimedia. They have flown around on helicopters and videotape stuff so that your agents who are out there flying over the jungle in a helicopter, so that you can, that you find all these cool new things. And their latest one is on Kickstarter right now. There's a link for that down in the show notes, or you can hit that eye up in the top right corner of the screen. And that, in a nutshell, is the Key Enigma series. It's so cool. There's been little hints of this, specifically in the Unlock, because you have to have your smartphone, and they do some fun stuff. This takes that through the stratosphere, and it really makes you feel like you, not some person that you're having to pretend to be, are living through these adventures, and it's awesome. And again, if you check out the Kickstarter page, they also have deluxe versions of these that have really amazing super components that you get in the box, or you can get just like normal, like kind of the stuff you saw here. Neat stuff. And like I said, it's kind of rekindled Jen's and my personal enthusiasm for the idea of an escape room in your home, because they go so far above and beyond. You live in this world. It talks to you. You have conversations with it, which is something that its competitors just can't quite touch. It's very impressive.
Talk about immersion, right?
Yes.
You are immersed in this world. And, just your description, everything, like I'm fully interested. I'm so interested in this. I thought immediately of the movie, The Game, from David Fincher.
Oh my
Michael
gosh.
Douglas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, oh man, this is like sort of along those lines. You're fully immersed in this world. That's amazing.
Really, really cool stuff. Now I will say this is done by Spanish designers, and so everything you see, they always have Spanish and English versions of everything. The English can be a little spotty in some places, but it's never a problem. You never have a hard time. You're like, oh, well, that was clearly not written by a, But so that's really my only complaint. It's a pretty minor one. It doesn't get in the way of the actual fun of discovery and immersion. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
So that was the sponsor of the show, Key Enigma, and their incredible series of the fusion of the analog and the digital, taking it farther than anybody else has so far.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. That's great.
Okay.
So we've taken care of that. Let's move on to the show, shall we? But
no,
first,
because we're not done talking about sponsors. Key Enigma is sponsoring the show, but we have a different sponsor this week for our contest giveaway. Let me go on ahead and bring that back up. Azul. The base game plus a very, very cool Azul mug, which I gotta say, everybody loves the look of Azul with those really nice style there. So you get this really nice mug, you get a base game of Azul, either I know a lot of you have it, and you know it makes a phenomenal gift because if you've played it with anybody in your life, they've wanted to have it too. Or if you haven't, if you've never gotten around to playing Azul, this is your chance to win it because one lucky viewer this week will get an Azul bundle sent directly to them anywhere in the world. But, Ruel, how do they get it?
Friends, to enter the contest, you're going to be listening to the show, and one of us is going to say the magic secret word, which this week is potato.
Yes.
Yes, potato, whatever you want to call it. It is potato. So one of us is going to say it, and what you want to do is when you hear us say it, you will take a note of what game we're talking about.
Right.
And it could be potato or potatoes. Listen for either one.
Yep.
Whatever game we're talking about, send that name of the game in an email to contest@rahdo.com.
Exactly.
Okay? And then you'll be entered to win. I'm going to tell you, I want that mug. That mug is cool.
Oh, it's a nice looking mug. Yes. I would also like to get one. I might have to pull some strings, quite frankly.
Pull some strings for me too, please.
I'll see what I can do. Sorry, Ruel. As always, participants of the R&R show and their extended family are not eligible to enter. Apologies. That'd be super small.
That's what I figured. Oh well.
But yeah. I mean,
for the rest
Azul.
of you, yes.
Azul is phenomenal.
For the rest of you, just keep an eye out or keep an ear out for potato or potatoes. Take a note of the game and send it in a subject to contest@rahdo.com, and you'll be entered to win the Azul prize package from Plan B.
Exactly, and you have until Tuesday the 15th of March. If you were watching this on the 16th of March, you missed it. It's too late. But definitely keep an ear peeled for those potatoes. You see what I did there? Because you peel potatoes. I literally came up with that halfway through the sentence. Oh, wow. I'm so happy with myself now.
That's awesome. I love it.
We have put off what we're really here to do long enough. It is time, folks, for us to continue, after a couple weeks off, our top 100 games of all time, the R&R top 100. And when last we left our heroes, we had done numbers 100 through 81, right? Because we've done 2 weeks. So now it's 80 to 71. Are you ready, Ruel? Are you good to go? Have you? Did you have any hard times? Or, of course, I mean, actually, we've already done this. We actually came up with our list like a month and a half ago. It's easy peasy. It's smooth sailing. Now we just got to talk about the games.
Just got to talk about them, yeah. So let's start off with our number 80 on our list is Raiders of the North Sea from Shem Phillips.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a worker placement game set in the North Sea, Vikings, and loading up your Viking ship to go out and take over some villages and get goods and gold and all kinds of goodies. I was, this one was surprising to me only because I've talked about this before. I didn't think my wife Michelle would like it. She really enjoyed Stone Age. That is a gateway worker placement game, and I feel like this is a gateway, just a little bit more than Stone Age though. Almost a gateway plus. But I didn't think she'd like the theme. She actually enjoyed it. It was fun. As you can see there in the video, you're taking a worker, placing it on a spot, doing the action. But what's really clever is you're going to take a worker off a different space and take that action as well. So it's a really neat, puzzle of trying to time yourself to do get the actions you want. And then when you eventually have enough resources, you're going to be able to send your ships over across the sea to go attack and fight and do the Viking things. But it never feels mean or anything like that. I mean, you're just gathering resources and stuff. You'll see, as you can see there in the video as well, that they did this video a while ago. Look at this table.
Oh my gosh, this is a very old prototype of the game. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love it. And you can see all the different cards. You can do things where you can take the immediate action, or you can do ongoing stuff and add them to your crew. It's a wonderful, wonderful worker placement game. And I put it this high on the top 100 because I was actually thinking of, I would add at least one expansion to it. The one that includes the mead hall. I think it's not the Empire something.
There's Hall of Heroes.
Hall of Heroes is the one I would add. And then the other one I think is not as necessary. It's the one that adds the Jarls or whatever. But wonderful game, a great design, and it's spawned like this whole series in the North Sea. You had shipwrights, you had explorers, which honestly weren't as good as Raiders. Raiders is the shining the shining pearl of the bunch right
So
here.
this
But
is the
that's why it's
beginning
our
and end
number
of North
80,
Sea.
Raiders of the North Sea.
We will not be hearing more North Sea on the list, is what you're saying.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one right there. Raiders
Yeah.
of the North Sea, our number 80.
I agree. It is a brilliant, brilliant design. And it's interestingly, it's had a couple expansions. Then it had a spin-off called Raiders of Scythia, and it takes the same core gameplay and sets it in a completely different historical context with different art and like basically different special effects and whatnot that you could use. I personally am kind of I kind of prefer Scythia over North Sea, but I think you prefer North Sea over Scythia. Why is that?
Yeah, so we'd actually talked about that during the R&R pre-show. So folks,
Yeah.
if you're just watching the
Yeah.
YouTube video, we actually stream this live every Tuesday, and we have a bunch of other stuff that we talk about that doesn't make it into the YouTube video. But yeah, we did talk about Scythia versus the North Sea, and I prefer North Sea just because I think it's part of the nostalgia factor for me because this is the one Michelle and I, we really bonded over this one. We got into it right at the start of the pandemic, actually.
Oh, wow.
So this one has a lot of memories of me and Michelle really getting into it, and again, me just being so surprised that she would like a themed game with Vikings and fighting and stuff like that. It's normally not her jam, but a lot of it is nostalgia. But at the same time, I do really like the Raiders of the North Sea just with that expansion. I think it does a lot of neat things. Having said that, you did talk me into Scythia because it does include those animals.
Yeah.
Remember, I like the animals in that. So,
but either way, you can't go
one's
wrong.
gonna be
Both the
fantastic.
Raider games
Yeah,
are
you can't go
fantastic. It's an
Yeah.
excellent entry at number 80. Raiders of the North Sea. But it is time to move on to our number 79. And unless you surprise me later on, I believe this is going to be the absolute newest game on the list. Number 79 is Ark Nova.
Yeah.
Right. Now, have you played Ark Nova?
I have not, and I'm sort of kicking myself because we just, again, if you're watching this right now when it comes out, we had just come back from Dice Tower West. I swear, I think that game was the number one hit at that convention.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it everywhere, but I have not played it, unfortunately.
I played it 3 times, or 3.5 times, because one of the games couldn't quite finish. I taught it 3.5 times, and it's absolutely, it lives up to the hype. Now, sadly, I have not done a run-through for it yet. I'm going to be trying to film that later this week. So I've just thrown up Slicker Drips, Tom Heath. By the way, folks, if you're a fan of my run-throughs, you must subscribe to the YouTube channel Slicker Drips, because he does everything I do with a British accent and without making any of all the mistakes. So, and he did a great little solo run-through. So thanks, Tom. I've got your video on screen. I highly recommend Tom. But yeah, this is a very big, very heavy, very long, crunchy Euro game about developing a modern, scientifically focused zoo. And the interesting thing about this to me, more than anything else, there's a lot of cool ideas, but I really love that you have an equal amount of focus on just trying to make an appealing zoo that will attract people through the door so you can raise funds. But really what you want those funds to go into are conservancy actions, because we have 2 different victory point tracks. And it's one which is the money we're making or the appeal of the populace, and the other one, how much good are we doing for these animals? And we could do things in this game like release animals to the wild, do all kinds of studies, and scientific breakthroughs for them. And this really exemplifies the best of what humanity can have in terms of a harmonious, relationship with these animals. I mean, growing up as a kid, zoos were kind of sketchy, at least the ones I went to in the 70s. But these days they are peopled by incredibly passionate animal lovers who try to make the habitats perfect for them, and you spend a large amount of time making these gigantic habitats so the animals can roam and and live quality lives while still raising money to save all the animals who are still out there in the wild. And I love the story of this game, that you really get to focus on both of those things. They're both hard to do, and the way you do it is through, even though this is a very big, heavy, complex game, the mechanism for selecting your actions, you have 5 cards in front of you. They are in slots numbered 1 through 5. If a card is in number 3, that means you can do a level 3 version of it. If it's in number 5, you can do a super powerful level 5 version of it. If I take the level 5 build action to make a really big enclosure for animals, I could make a size 5 enclosure for really big cats or something like that. But then it slides all the way down to the 1, making everything else better. And now I'm probably not going to build again for a while because it's been, knocked knocked down to being really, really weak. And so managing that queue of actions that you can do in this game is just so rich and compelling. I mean, this game, it's interesting. Like I said, I played it 3.5 times at Dice Tower West, and every time I was able to teach this game, every time I taught it, I was able to teach it in get people up and running in under 15 minutes. And that is not the case for a game like this because it's so incredibly intuitive. There's a lot of icons, but they're all put in the exactly right place so you can kind of build your knowledge of this game as you go. Everybody, when we got home from the show, the first thing my wife, she heard so many people talking about it. She said, "You've got that, right? We're playing that this afternoon." Even though we were exhausted from our red-eye flight, we played it immediately. And, right after the bit, her first game, of course, she beat me 20-6, which, of course, is amazing. But it's a testament to just how easy it is to pick up and play this game, and yet it's big and long and rich. Now, this could have ranked even higher for me. This could have made it into maybe like my top 20 of all time, except for two things. It's still amazing. It's still one of the 10 best games of the year. It's still in our top 100 of all time combined. But you have to know going in, this is a long game. Even if you get good at this game, this is an hour per player. And so it is an hour per player that zips by. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where time just melts away. You're so engaged every step. And turns are quick. It comes back to you pretty quickly, usually. Sometimes players have really big super mega turns, but most of the time it cycles quickly. My other thing is, for such a long game, there can be a little bit of luck involved. And that's kind of keeping it down for me a little bit because there are a lot of things the game does to allow you as a player to control that luck if you invest in certain things. But there might be players who say, you know what, I'm not going to invest in any of that luck mitigation stuff. I'm just going to hope for the best and draw blind because there's a deck of 50 bajillion cards in this game and they interact in thousands of different ways. And there's cards that are on display, but you have to make investments to be able to grab those cards. Whereas somebody could just draw blind. And you know what? If they win because they draw blind a lot, they don't make those investments, but they always get lucky and get what they want, that's going to happen. And so that just takes a little bit of the shine off for me. Not enough that I'm not keeping this game. Not enough that it's not one of my 10 best games of the year. Not enough that it's not in my top 100 games of all time. But man, it could have been one of the greatest of all greats. But and for some people, you just know going in, hey, there's a little bit of luck. You know going in, you're going to be in that seat for a long time. But I guarantee, if you like heavy, crunchy Euros that are incredibly smooth and elegant and easy to play and just have great power curves, you're probably going to really enjoy Ark Nova.
Yeah, it's on my list to play. All my friends that have played it, they've said two things. Number one, you see a lot of negative scores. And
yes, my first game, I believe I scored -2. My second game, I scored 14. My third game, I scored 6.
Nice. Yeah. So negative scores. And the other thing I hear is a lot of them are saying this is going to replace Terraforming Mars for them, which I thought was interesting.
Yes. You know what? In one of the games I played and we were, it's impossible not to make comparisons between this and, Terraforming Mars. There's a lot of the same way. I mean, you're selecting cards, you're playing them. There's not as much engine building in this game. Most cards you play are just one and done. There are some things, so it feels different there. But honestly, at the end of the day, there's no getting around it. This feels like a Terraforming Mars where everybody has their own little private Mars they're working on.
Nice.
And I mean that in the best possible way. The game is fantastic. Now, one thing is, a big step up for me for Terraforming Mars is we didn't stick with Terraforming Mars in part because of the attack cards. This game can have really vicious attack cards, and there's a bunch of them in the deck. The interesting thing, though, is every vicious attack card that steals from each other or puts them in vices and all kinds of stuff, they have an alternate action you can do on the bottom of the card. So if all the players agree, hey, let's just play nice. Let's just do those alternate nice actions for ourselves. Rather than really nasty, I will pound you into the dirt. So if you want to have that really rock'em sock'em, okay, who's doing best? Oh yeah, you're literally poisoned now. And until we can have a break, you're going to be poisoned for the next 3 rounds. Enjoy bleeding all your cards. Then you can have that experience. Or if you don't want to, you can say, oh yeah, I could have poisoned you, but you know what? I'm just going to give myself an extra $10 instead. Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
That's
Love
cool.
everything about it, except for those little provisos that keep it from being even higher. Ark Nova.
Yeah. Ark Nova. Okay, great. Number 78. Let's move on. I'm going to stick to the animal park theme here. Our number 78 is Barenpark.
Yes, there you go.
Michelle and I, we love our polyomino games, and this is one of our favorites. Barenpark from a master design, Phil Walker Harding. We
Mhm.
love all of his games. There's a Barenpark run through right there. You see the polyominoes. You're building a park full of bears, and
Bears.
it's super friendly. It's super cute, and you're taking the polyominoes, placing them, and you're trying to fill up each of your little tiles there. And when you do, then you can unlock some other tiles, and it's such a smooth playing game, and it's one of those games where you can bring it to a new gamers. It's easy to pick up, but there's enough strategy involved where veteran gamers like, hey, this isn't that bad of a game. It's maybe almost like a little longer of a filler. And
Yeah.
I'm going to add this on. I think to make this on the 78, I think you should really add the expansion.
It's a
Which I forget
fantastic
the name of.
expansion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the expansion adds the monorails. It's almost like this 3D effect to it. So you're building upon buildings. Oh, it's a fantastic design. Again, if you're a polyomino fan, this is a fantastic game. That's why it's our number 78, Baron Park.
I completely agree, and I think the only thing I would agree is I would say this warrants being on the list even without the expansion. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no way this doesn't make everybody's top 10 polyomino tile laying games. It's one of the best. It's not the only time
yeah,
Phil Walker Harding has broached this topic, but oh my
yeah,
gosh. I mean, Gingerbread House is nice, but
yeah,
he just so got it perfect on his first try.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely amazing game. So fun, so replayable.
yeah.
Yeah, an amazing design. Good call.
Absolutely love it.
All
All
right,
right,
so that was 78, correct?
78. Yeah, let's go to
All
77.
right, let's do that. Folks, the five I'm talking about today are all pretty big, heavy games, and so let's keep going. Let's stay in that vein. We're leaving modern day animal conservation behind and going back to ancient history for Stefan
Ooh.
Feld's Forum Trajanum, which I
Ah.
absolutely adore. It seems like it's one of the Felds that doesn't get quite as much attention as
I
perhaps
was
it
going to ask
should.
you, why did it come out at the same time as like Carpe Diem or something like that,
It
and
did.
it
It
was
came out
overshadowed?
the same year as
Yeah.
Carpe Diem. And Carpe Diem, of course, really blew up. People
Yep.
love that game with good reason. Carpe Diem is fantastic.
Mhm.
But I love Forum Trajanum so much. I mean, this is kind of like, this is peak Feld to me. Because Feld's gone on, sometimes he has like really big, heavy, grandiose games with a million different levers you can pull. Sometimes he has smaller, lighter, quicker playing games. This is, this ranks up there with his Trajans and his Macaws and those kinds of games. It's big, it's long, it's complex, and yet at its heart, it's so brilliant and elegant. The core of this game is, we are, in ancient Rome, trying to build up the city, build up the Senate, do all the kinds of things we do in ancient Rome. But every round we have two action cards. We're going to pick one of them, and that defines everything we're doing in the round. And every round you look at these two cards like, oh, I need to do both of these things, and I must get rid of one of them. Or oh, neither of these are any good. Okay, how am I going to make one of these work? What am I going to do? It's what I love about Feld more than anything else is, even though his games are bombastic and full of so many moving parts that all interlock together, at its heart, they always come down to very simple, pure decisions. And that is certainly what this game has going on. You're investing in a million different things. You've got all kinds of plates spinning all the time. So there's all of this logistical stuff going on all around you. But at its heart, every turn's like, oh, oh, wait, oh, I didn't think I could do it. Oh, every round. That's if you play with me, that's what you're gonna hear. It is one of his best of all time. It so deserves to get more attention, and I think you're right. I think it just came out at the wrong time. We were
Yeah.
spoiled for Felds, and Carpe Diem really got the lion's share of attention. But that's a real shame because 7 Forum Trajanum is fantastic.
Yeah, and I still need to play this one because I remember when it came out, like my group was into Carpe Diem, and that's all we played, and then we just totally forgot about Forum Tradium. So one of these days, I will check it out.
One of these days.
All right.
But not today.
Yep.
But you have checked out
Let's move on.
76. What's that?
Yeah, let's check out 76, which is Tiny Epic Galaxies. I'm a huge fan of Scott Alms. I love his Tiny Epic series. This is the best one of the bunch right here, folks. Tiny Epic Galaxies. You are exploring different planets to colonize, and you do that through dice rolling, which I love dice rolling, and you're building a tableau, and you're unlocking all kinds of special abilities as you go on. What the really cool thing about this design, which I think is so clever, is his follow mechanism. So whenever you're not the active player, you can spend one of your culture resources to follow an action that another player's taken.
Right.
As you can see there in the video, one player rolls. If you like that die, hey, you spend a culture, follow, and you can get the benefit of that as well. I think that's such a brilliant design choice where you're always involved in the game and you can benefit from other people. Their roles.
Yeah.
And as always, there are ways to mitigate the dice. So if you always get like one free reroll, then you can spend your energy to reroll dice. It's a race to, I think, 20 or something points, 21 points or something like that. Wonderful game. It's one of those games where you see the box, the size of the box, you don't expect this type of gameplay in such a tiny box. And I think that's why it's a winner. It's my favorite of the series. The expansion is good too, but the expansion, it's funny, it just makes it so much bigger, and you better have a big table for a tiny game. But regardless, it's wonderful. That's why it's our number 76, Tiny Epic Galaxies.
Yep, I think pretty widely regarded as the premier best game in the Tiny Epic series. Yeah, he really knocked it out of the park. It's got a little bit of take that in it. There can be some moments of friction between players, so you gotta know that going in. But it was a testament to its greatness. Jen and I kept it in spite of that, and we're super Care Bears.
Nice.
But we would still sometimes the teeth have to come out in space teeth.
Yeah.
But
And
absolutely
one thing,
fantastic.
to offset that, you can always play solo, folks. It has a solo variant, which is fine, and all that take that stuff doesn't come into play. You just play solo against the AI, and it's a wonderful solo game as well.
Nice.
All
Okay,
right,
cool.
let's go on to 75.
All right, number 75, another big heavy hitter for me. A classic one, one of the older games in this list, actually. It is Tzolkin, the Mayan calendar. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
This game, when it first came out, people were actually fairly quick to dismiss it. Oh, that's the one with the gears, right? That's just a gimmick. Meh, who cares? It's just a gimmick. But it's like it's so integral to the game, because what Tzolkin the Mayan calendar does, which basically retells the early life of Mayan civilization and whatnot, is it really focuses on the passage of time, which of course is something those ancient South American civilizations were known for, all their scientific breakthroughs with tracking the moon and the stars and all of that. So I always really kind of appreciate that. But the way time is tracked is at the end of every round, this central wheel is going to get rotated. That is interlocked with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other wheels. And so all these wheels will rotate simultaneously, and that represents another year passing in the development of your society. And the thing is, this is a worker placement game, and we put our workers on these wheels. And once we put them on there, we have a tough decision to make. How many rounds am I going to keep those workers on those wheels as they slowly move to better and more powerful actions? Because sometimes I need some corn right now. But if I can just wait 2 more rounds, he'll get past the corn. I'll be able to get corn and lumber, or I'll be able to do a wild card action. But I need that corn right now. Okay, I'll leave him there. I'll leave him there for 2 more years as the wheel slowly turns, and I'll try to figure something else to do. And that is so wonderful. And it really makes, board games tend to sit there, just not unmoving, just waiting for you to do stuff. But in this game, the board itself is an active participant. Every time it rotates, and you are planning, so much heavy planning in this game. Right, okay, because I put this worker on this space on this wheel, and my other worker on that one is on the 5th space, I know in 2 rounds, it'll be on the 7th space, this one will be on the 4th space, and if I activate both those workers at the same time, that will be an amazing combo that I can then funnel into, doing more building or whatever it might be that you're trying to do. Because this is a point type game. There's lots of different paths to victory in this game, but they all come back to being able to perfectly synchronize all your workers on all these wheels. And I will admit, it is a gimmick. It's a really fun gimmick. My only complaint about the game is I wish I got to turn the wheel more often, quite frankly. Yeah. Although there is a way. You can make certain sacrifices and get to do bonus turns of the wheel, so I appreciate that too. I love everything about number 75 on the R&R list, Tzolkin the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, a modern classic. And I will say, I love seeing, whether it's on BGG or just on Twitter or whatever, people painting those gears.
Yes.
Some of those things look absolutely beautiful. Just amazing. But awesome choice for 75. Let's move on to 74.
Okay, what you got?
Dead of Winter, a Crossroads game.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was all the hotness, what, 5 years ago or whatever. This is a cooperative game, but with a traitor element, and this is post-apocalyptic. So of course we've got zombies, and we're trying to survive a certain set amount of nights, and try not to get stabby stabbed or bitty bit by the zombies there.
hmm
And what you're doing is you're collecting resources, trying to fight them off, and save certain locations. The game changes. It changes from game to game with different missions, and of course you have that really cool Crossroads deck. So that's a very narrative driven game where you're going to flip over cards, and not all the cards have to do with your game. You may just have to pass over certain cards, but a lot of them will trigger events and whatnot. I absolutely love this game. This is one of those games that I can always remember the stories from each game. It's very narrative focused. I still remember the first time I played it. My buddy my buddy Graham, wherever you are, my friend, I'll never forget you hosing me over this game. You convinced the rest of the table that I was the traitor, even though I wasn't the traitor. I got exiled, and he won the game because he was the traitor. It's moments like that that I love in board games. Now this isn't going to be for everyone because there is some backstabbingness to it. You can play it cooperatively by taking that out, just not having a traitor in the game.
Yeah.
So there are ways to get around that. But I mean, you got Sparky the Stunt Dog, the greatest character ever. They released comic books about this stuff. It's a wonderful, wonderful cooperative with a traitor game. It's one that's still on my shelf, and that's why it's our number 74, Dead of Winter.
I will have to very embarrassingly admit I have never played Dead of Winter. And it has been on my list of, I mean, every time I go to a convention, seems like the 2 days after somebody reminds me, why didn't you play Dead of Winter while you were there? You were right there. It was anybody would have played it with you. Everybody but you's played it and knows it. Someday I will play it. It seems so cool. And that whole idea of, hey, no, we're all on the same team. Except for you. No, he was the one.
Yeah.
And although, I mean, I'd love to play co-op too. As I understand it, originally it was a 3-player minimum game. Eventually they put out 2-player rules as well. And I guess it's okay as a 2-player game, right? But you really need to have that group, right?
You really need the group
Yeah.
element. It's just that tension of knowing, like Battlestar Galactica, one's a Cylon. In this case, one's a traitor. It's like, oh, who is it? And it works so well. But hopefully one of these days you'll be able to get to play it.
Someday.
Number 74, Dead of Winter.
Someday. Okay, cool. But let's move on to number 73, Railways of the World.
Ooh,
I know.
great
I don't.
choice.
Yeah. Now, have you played any of Martin Wallace's? You got Steam and Age of Steam, and you got Railways. Are
I
these
love
your jam?
Railways. They're becoming my jam, but I really like Railways. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Well, then you have good taste, sir. This is
Thank
absolutely phenomenal. And I think the thing that impresses me most about it is just how deep and rich this is. And yet, it comes with, like, I think 3 pages of rules that you can read. You can sit down and read the entirety of the rules and understand all the basics you need to know in like 10 minutes. This is the epitome of high, heavy crunch and super simple, lightweight rules that drive everything in this gigantic, and I mean physically gigantic railroad simulation. Now, I'm playing here Railways of the World with the Europe map, which is the way we fell in love with it. Because as 2-player gamers, the first time we ever played Railways of the World, which comes with the Eastern United States map, it was like, this isn't really so great. It's too wide open. There's not much tension. I think the original game also comes with the Mexico map, which is so tight and cutthroat, we hated it. But when we played Europe, with all those mountain ranges you have to deal with, it just kind of tightened the board up naturally. We really fell in love. And really, at its heart, this, probably more than anything else I appreciate about this game, is the growth you as a player go through. You start out just trying to put a couple little rails out, trying to get some trains on the ground to connect a few cities so that you can move cubes from one city to another. I mean, I don't know what's in these cubes. Are they meat? Are they potatoes? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You just got to get those cubes from one city to another. And over the course of the game, as you set up these initial routes, it's not a one-time thing. When I make that delivery of the black cube to whatever city it was going to, that means I'm going to get income for the rest of the game off that one action. And so these things compound and get bigger and bigger. So by the time you're in the game, you are making such monstrously huge turns that would seem to be impossible, inconceivable at the end of the game, that it is so satisfying to go on that journey. Now, it is a long journey, but it's a journey with, actually kind of in stark contrast to what I was talking about earlier, Ark Nova, a big long game that has a not insignificant amount of luck with Luck of the Draw. There's some of that here because there's some cards that will come out at the beginning of every round, but those cards don't just go to whoever just happens to fall into your lap. If you want those cards that happen to fall into your lap luckily, you got to bid for them. Every round starts with an auction, and if everybody can see, oh my God, that would be perfect for you, this game takes care of that because we're going to make you pay for it. So everything is simple and elegant and fast, and this game is so much more than the sum of its parts. You will spend hours at the table. Those hours will melt away, and you will feel like you have accomplished so much in number 73, Railways of the World. And then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of maps that have come out for it. Maps are still, even though this game is, 10 years old, there are still every year new, really cool maps that have new rules from some of the hottest designers working in the industry because everybody loves this one so much.
Didn't Vital Lacerda come out with a map?
Yes, he did one for Portugal. I think Sashi Hisashi, the Japanese designer, he did Railways of Tokyo. So nice. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal game. Love it. I was really surprised that you put it on here, though, because it's a pick up and delivery game.
No, it's not. No, it's not. At no point do I ever have to take a cube, put it on my little train, and then spend the next 3 turns slowly moving it around the board until it can go somewhere. I never deliver anything in this game. All I do is facilitate these cities being able to ship their own stuff. Because once the track is there, once the trains are there, those cubes just teleport around. Because that's not my job. I'm the logistics infrastructure guy. I'm not the guy who actually runs the trains. It is very incorrectly, in my opinion. I've had this argument with a lot of people over the years. Maybe it might be an argument somewhere down the road I think on our extended version of the show.
That's interesting because I always thought of it as a pick up and delivery game. But if you're right, if you're just building the infrastructure and they magically teleport, maybe you're right. We'll have to do an R&R argument one of these days on that.
I look forward to it. And I will crush you. Just like I crushed Jason Levine of the Dice Tower when he and I had this argument.
Nice. All right. Great choice for 73. Let's move on to 72. This is the Quest for El Dorado. I had to come back to The Good Doctor because I am a huge Knizia fan, and this may not be the last game that we see on this list from Reiner Knizia.
I believe this is our second. I put Raw on in a previous episode. So he's showing up. He's making a good presentation so far.
Yeah, and he will definitely make another. Spoiler alert: he will make another appearance or two coming up. But this one is his take on deck building. He took deck building, a very simple mechanism, and fused it with a race game. Yes. And what you're doing is you're sort of like Indiana Jones, trying to race to the temple, try to beat everyone else there, and you're doing that through the use of deck building. You have a standard deck of cards. You will play, you draw a few and then play a few as you can, and you're going to buy cards to improve your deck. Some will give you currency, some will give you movement, and so forth. Some have special abilities. It's a wonderful game. If you're any kind of fan of deck building and or racing game, this is one of the best racing games out there, honestly. And the fact that they do it with deck building, I just think it was a genius move. It replays well because you can have different maps and all the ways the different cards come out. My only complaint, I do have a complaint about this game. Surprisingly enough, the size of the cards. Why do we have to go with these tiny cards for this?
That is a really good point. That never occurred to me. There's no reason for
building cards. What is? I don't get that. But that's my only complaint. But The Good Doctor, he is a genius, and that's why it's our number 72, The Quest for El Dorado.
Yeah, and well deserved. This is such a phenomenal race/deck building, and it was the first time Reiner Knizia had ever done a deck builder. And he just knocked it out of the park. Just so much fun. I am so happy to see that one on the list. One of my favorite race games of all time. Definitely.
Agreed.
Good call. Good call.
Thanks, sir.
But we're almost done, and I've got one more big, heavy beast to talk to you folks today. It's number 71 on the list. Blackout Hong Kong. We just had a Reiner Knizia. He's old guard, one of the greatest designers of all time. That's an interesting. Is the greatest designer of all time? I don't know.
He might be the most prolific, right?
That's
Over
certainly an interesting
700
argument to
games.
have too. I would be down for
Yeah,
that debate.
yeah.
But so out with the old, in with the new, I say. Let's talk about Blackout Hong Kong from design superstar Alexander Pfister. I love everything Alex does. There are always, I mean, he does little tiny, quick, fast games, but he also does these big, bombastic, heavy Euro, economic goods, manipulation, logistics challenges too. I love this game because of the story. Even though this is a competitive game, Hong Kong, modern day Hong Kong, has been plunged into a blackout. And what is the story here? Who are we? We are not, members of the government. We are not, people fleeing for our lives. We're just regular citizens who have decided we have to go out into the night and try to help people and try to save people and organize rescue crews to rebuild infrastructure, get people the supplies they need, and I've always loved that story. It's so beautiful, and to kind of call back to the beginning of the show when I was talking about Roman in Ukraine, he could have gotten out with his family, but he didn't. He stayed. He stayed to help his fellow people. That's what you do in this game. This game allows you to be, the hero that we would all wish we could be in real life, and that some people are being forced to be right now. But the gameplay itself is absolutely stellar. It actually borrows the kind. What would you call it? It's kind of hard to say. It's a very interesting take on deck building, where you play cards and you put them into multiple discard queues, and you won't get those cards back out of that queue until a certain time has passed, or certain events and all that. He did it originally in Mombasa. It was pretty cool there, but he tweaked it in such ways that I think made it so much more interesting and compelling here. There's a lot of really interesting, tough planning, and then also I just love how really thematically grounded the game is. The way the different resources can be transported around the city differently depending on whether it's food or water. We are trying to help get the lights back on, and so different sectors of the city will become available. It's got a rondelle, one of my favorite mechanisms of all time, and this is a rondelle with dice on it that's making a constantly evolving rondelle. And then if all that weren't enough, and it is, this is a phenomenal game, one of Pfister's best as far as I'm concerned, it also includes a little mini narrative story campaign that you can play through, where every chapter, is the Blackout lasts, night after night after night, more new special rules get added to the game. So you've got that to play through as well. Not necessary. The game would have been great even without it, but I love it even more because it actually tells an ongoing story that you can get involved with over, I think it's like 5 chapters long. It's a pretty short one. It's there. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. But yeah, I love this one. It's not my favorite Pfister, but it is one of them. I don't want to spoil future stuff on the list, but yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. I love everything about this game, Blackout Hong Kong.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we've heard the last of Alexander Pfister or Rainer Knizia on this list.
I think that is
looking
correct,
forward to seeing what other games are on there. All right, we did it. We're up to number 70, which will be next time. Wow, we've been doing this every couple, so we do 10 per week. Wow, we still got a ways to go.
We got a ways to go. We're going to be doing this, if I recall correctly, till sometime in June. So,
nice.
Get comfortable, folks. We will be back next week with continuing. Next week we'll be doing our our number 70 to 69.
70.
And I can't wait. We're 61, and I can't wait to see what Ruel comes up with. We each have our 50, and so far, I can't disagree with any of your choices. You have knocked it out of the park, sir.
Yeah, you've been rocking it as well. And
all right.
Now, the important thing is, folks, did you hear one of us say the word potato or potatoes?
Mm-hmm.
If you did, write down the name of the game that we were talking about at that time and send it in a email to contest@rahdo.com, and you'll be entered to win the Azul prize pack from our friends at Plan B Games.
Yes, and thank you, Plan B Games, for donating that and helping support the show. Thank you, Ruel, for going on this crazy journey with me and making it just a joy to keep recording. Thank you, of course, for watching. And finally, of course, thanks to sponsors of the show, Key Enigma. You can check out their latest on Kickstarter right now. Follow the links down in the show notes. All the older ones I showed you are available as part of this expansion too. There's so much goodness in there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.